Yes.
So welcome to a Greater Reality Healing, Living and Helping online meeting. This program helps people take higher energy paths during their earthly experience. Doing that, especially after big changes that seem like losses, can create quantum leaps in your learning, growth and service to others. Over time, this transformational journey can help you adopt a more accurate worldview based on contemporary understandings about the big picture of life and live accordingly, whatever that means for you. See Article 19, The Great News About the Nature of Reality at soulproof.com. I experienced shorter and lightened grieving after loved ones change worlds and other big changes that seem like losses. Fine-tune yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually so you have the vitality to handle life's demands and share your greatest gifts or your soul's missions. Become more aware of, benefit from, and share life's silver linings that always accompany opportunities masquerading as adversity. Create the greatest life you have envisioned. The term you refers to your higher self or your eternal consciousness or your soul. Fulfill your highest purposes for being on earth and help make our world a better place. This is now practically possible as discussed in Article number 125, 8 Developments for Widespread Conscious Living Now. As enough people do this, widespread personal and planetary change will naturally unfold. The evidence-based information and holistic resources in the program can help you do this. This program is not designed to replace traditional medical or psychotherapeutic care. The healing part of this program is not designed to replace the many wonderful services that Helping Parents Heal provides for parents with children who passed on. It is designed for people with other kinds of losses, the passing of a spouse, sibling, dear friend, pet, etc. It was also created for people struggling with challenges such as financial losses, health problems, loved ones with mental illness or addiction, etc. Dr. Pitstick has worked closely with Helping Parents Heal for 11 years and continues to do so. He recommends that organization is the first and best resource for parents, grandparents, and siblings after a child changes worlds. 3 30-minute parts of each online meeting include presentation, breakout groups, and Q&A. Breakout groups are not to be recorded, but the rest is so others can benefit from them. Discussions during meetings are confidential. You can share what occurred, but not from whom. If you are concerned about anonymity, just show your first name in your Zoom window and block your video image. YouTube links for class recordings are under Greater Reality Programs at soulproof.com and soulphone.org. Subscribe to those newsletters for updates and more. I'd now like to introduce our presenter, Mark Pitstick, MADC. Mark has over 50 years of experience in helping many people in hospitals, pastoral counseling settings, mental health centers, and holistic health clinics. To learn more, visit soulproof.com/about. Dr. Pitstick's ebooks, audiobooks, audio programs, and documentary film are free at soulproof.com/shop. His free articles are free at soulproof.com/articles. And I'll hand over to Mark.
Thank you very much, and thank you for letting people in. So good day, everyone. Welcome. Kudos for joining us, and thank you for sharing with others. You understand this is I'm not bragging, but it's just a fact. There is so much spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical help, information, resources in this program. And most people have to search widely. For example, if you have one malady, whether it's a mental symptom or a physical problem, they have to search so widely and may never find help. Make sure you're muted, everyone, and Allison, if you would patrol for that. And also, while we're talking, I'd love to see your smiling faces if you're comfortable doing that. And we also welcome our four-legged visitors. For example, Sandra's. And so um, that's one reason this program is so vital, and we appreciate you sharing it with others because some people can't afford holistic health care. Some healthcare physicians who are excellent in their specialty don't have a clue about other areas. And so there's just such a wealth of information here. And a lot of what we're teaching you to do in these classes is to access it because there is a lot. I mean, I put a lot together. I'm kind of the man with a mission all these years. And so part of it's just to learn how to navigate and find what you need the most. And we were just talking before we started about Dr. Gary Schwartz and the Soul Phone Project. He and his team of electrical engineers, software specialists, authentic mediums, and what we call the A team. So these are post-material inventors, scientists, educators, and others who are working together to create post-material communication technology. That is so that we can first text and type with the Soul keyboard, and then Soul voice talking with, and then Soul video, what we're doing right now, teleconferencing with people who have changed worlds, with people who have passed on. And that falls into two major categories. First of all, your loved ones, family, friends who have passed. And secondly, with luminaries while they were on Earth, Nikola Tesla, Thomas Edison, they're not fighting now, according to all reports. They're working together. So how could we have free energy on Earth? And that's just one area. So we have thousands of people waiting in the wings. They were pioneers and geniuses while on Earth who want to help us and our planet, but we need a sufficient quality and quantity of input from them. So this is not science fiction, although it sounds like it. All the research has been done so far at the University of Arizona for 15 years. Dr. Schwartz just retired and got in a private lab, but this is ongoing. So when there are official announcements of scientific proof of life after death, and that's already in place, it's just a matter of having the infrastructure, the scientific journal paper, the book before announcing this, and then also public demonstrations of this technology. Once that happens, there's going to be a paradigm shift and it's going to spread, and we will have professional publicists and so on to help spread this. Netflix did a movie several years ago. We were very excited for it to come out. Robert Redford was a scientist, and because the theme of the movie is so much like what we were doing, a top scientist proved there is life after death. However, where they went with it was so dark, a lot of people were choosing suicide then. They said, okay, if there's really life after death, I'm out of here because this one sucks. And we're like, no, of all the ways they could have gone with that, why did they pick the most horrible, lower functioning way? So anyway, we are preparing for this paradigm shift, and you all, by being at the class, by reading the articles, by watching the videos, you will be prepared because your family and friends, whether they believe in afterlife or not, whether they believe in a creator or not, when this information comes out, they will be needing some answers. It's going to be a whole new era on planet Earth, a historic moment. And so, again, kudos for you. I mean, think about all the things you could be doing now. How is it you're attracted here? So pat yourself on the back, please. That says a lot about who you are. So again, this program is designed to help you heal and positively transform no matter what you've gone through in the past or you're going through now. And you need to heal, first of all, because you deserve to feel peaceful, joyful, healthy. But also, you need to heal before you can shine your brightest light, before you can share your greatest gifts with others. And the world needs it. Second, The program is about how you can live optimally and enjoy the greatest life you have envisioned during this earthly experience. And when I say you have envisioned, that's your real self, your higher consciousness, your soul. Because obviously, a soul will choose some things that a human would never choose. So I say, and create the greatest life you've envisioned. You say, are you saying that I envision having cancer or getting raped or, a child passing, all this? I say, no, but your soul did. And the souls of those people who are involved in those different scenarios. So that's a really important distinction. And then help. So heal, live, help others in our world. So again, these presentations provide just an overview, not the comprehensive program. Depending on your goals, you'll need to read the articles and watch the videos associated with each one of those topics. So for healing, article number 82, for living, article number 72, and helping, 119. And all those articles are free at soulproof.com/articles. Finally, if you haven't watched videos for classes 1 through 3, please do so as soon as possible. And those are available at recordings of meetings under the Greater Reality Living Program top tab. So with that, let's move to the slides. All right, can you see that okay? Allison? I can't hear you,
Yeah,
Allison.
it's all fine.
Okay, thank you. I don't want to assume. On about half the webinars I do, there are some electronic malfunctions, oddities occurring, and I attribute that to the souls involved. Especially happens when I do helping parents heal. Some of their kids are tricksters. So, all right, we're doing, and yep, it's happening already. All right. So key number 7, know your true nature and live accordingly. You've heard the existential questions probably. Who am I? Why am I here? Is there life after death? Is there really a loving and intelligent creator? And another is, how can I best live while on earth? So this key addresses 2 of those. The nice thing is that now in 2025, you can make informed decisions about what you believe, the answers to these questions. First of all, from collective evidence about the nature of reality, from religious and spiritual teachings that you resonate with, and then from your inner knowing and that of your spiritual support team. And that's my term for your angels, guides, master teachers in the light. Now, this phrase, living accordingly, we don't pretend to think there's a set way for that. However, oftentimes when people know their true nature, even glimpsing it a little more than before, they trust their inner voice. They share their greatest gifts. They march to their own drummer. They optimally care for the temple of the soul. They realize we have only this one body to get us from the womb to tomb, and they care for it. Even this body is mortal. We need it during this earthly experience. They spend quiet time. They usually favor quiet settings versus really big, noisy, populated areas. And they pursue mastery in one or more areas of their life. It could be art, that could be healing, it could be self-care, but they understand the concept of we can have it all and we can have a wonderful life and we deserve that. So some benefits of key number 7 for healing. Learning the answers to life's existential questions frees up energy for wellness across the board, because you understand a lot of people get caught up in the questions. Is there really life after death? And they're so afraid. Or will they see their loved ones? Or is there a God? Because, I mean, I'm not being critical at all or poking fun, but I will have parents in all earnestness say, my child passed on. Why is God punishing me? And I'm like, oh my God, really? In 2025, people still believe that sort of thing? And I fault religion for not doing a better job. But that's the kind of basic things we have to deal with. And that's why it's so important to learn more about the nature of life and the answers to these existential questions. Living when you know who you are more and live your way accordingly, then that assists enjoying the greatest life you've envisioned. We just talked about that. And helping you can more powerfully serve others via your reaches and way of being. And I italicize way of being because maybe you've heard the saying, who you are speaks so loudly, I can't hear what you're saying. And it's been very rewarding. About the last 10 years of my life, I've had more and more people say, Mark, just your presence. And that can be in webinars. It doesn't have to be in person. They say, yeah, I get a lot out of what you teach and your products and all this, but your very presence, your energy, your state of being helps me. And so that can be the same way for all of you. And let me tell you, it's a wonderful feeling. All right, next we're looking at, I'm not kidding, I deal with these slides all the time. There we go, okay. So suggested action steps for key number 7. You can see these articles, and these will be listed, by the way, the action steps on the user what we call a community sign up. So if you fill that out, and Allison, make a note, please, that when we take the break, we can share that link with people and Deborah can help you find it. But it takes 10 seconds. You put in your name, your email address, and then you get automatic reminders a week before, a day before, I think 10 minutes before. But you also get automatically links to the recordings and then also the suggested action steps all printed out. So these 6 articles, and then also my audio program, and you understand that all of this is free. Okay, all my ebooks, audio programs, articles, documentary, free. So just go to soulproof.com/shop. But the one called Ask Your Soul, Angels in the Light, so this uses deep relaxation and guided imagery to help you get in touch with your real self, not just your brain that only perceives much less than 1% of reality, but your higher consciousness that can see much more of the big picture of life, as well as your team, Angels in the Light. And so you can ask then, how can I best live while visiting Earth? How can I live accordingly? And then also the second half of another technique, long title, Identify Your Soul's Missions and Enjoy the Greatest Life You've Envisioned. Another audio program to take you deep within and remember on a soul level, what are my soul's missions and how can I create the greatest life I've envisioned? So those are for key 7. Key number 8, this is my backyard, by the way. I live on 5 acres in southern Ohio. That's a state park, that range of hills. And I found a long time ago, I do a lot better when I'm surrounded by nature. It just helps me so much be on the planet, stay in my body, not get affected so much by all the craziness in the world. So that might be something you want to do as well, or at least visit more. So learn more about the big picture of life. Other ways to say that is, what's going on? You know, what's the nature of reality? How is life set up? in a word or 6 words, manifestations of consciousness, shifting patterns of energy. In other words, it's all energy, it's all consciousness, it's all vibrational fields. And that can fluctuate, that can manifest in different ways. And depending on who's observing, in this case with our human brain, then it appears like right now it appears we're solid, that we die, that we're separate from each other, we're separate from our source, none of which are true. So it's very important to learn about the big picture of life, what's really going on here. And it's all great news. And that's why article number 19, the great news about the nature of reality, that list of 10 indications about how life is set up that Dr. Schwartz and I compiled in our book, Greater Reality Living. So understanding more about the nature of reality, including what happens after bodily death, can lighten the severity and duration of deep grieving. Of course, everyone's sad when a beloved person and pet passes on. That's natural. That's part of being human. But I'm talking about deep grieving where people can't get out of bed and they cry all the time and they're depressed. Um, that can be lightened, both severity and the duration of that. It's very important. I mean, there's so much about the big picture of life, and that's why it's on you to read the articles and so on. But one key is that it's pretty clear that only part of your energy, who you really are, the totality of your being, is needed for this earthly experience. Michael Newton says, a PhD, founder of Life Between Lives, says that on average 20 to 25 to 40% of a soul's energy is needed to manifest this earthly experience. Well, that has a lot of ramifications, but one is other parts of you, or the majority of you, may be experiencing other slices of life, other space-time parts of dimension right now. And part of you may never have left home. In other words, you can be in heaven, the really real place. You can be having other experiences, and you can be on earth right now having this experience. Another one of the wonderful spin-offs of this is knowing that when a loved one does pass, you two may be together right now in another slice of life while you're on earth right now grieving them and missing them. So uh, if this is new to you, by the way, if this is the first meeting, you may think, wow, what's this guy on? But this is our best understandings of the nature of reality right now from both religious, for example, Hindu rishis 4,000 years ago, to current quantum physics understandings. So that's why we talk about it. All right, benefits of key number 8. First of all, for healing, obviously, when you understand more about life, it expands your peace, joy, and other energy emotions that assist recovery. In other words, if you believe that there's a hell and you might end up there, that God's a vengeful fellow, or there's no God, there's no afterlife, if you believe all these horrible mistruths, then what's that create? Hopelessness, despair, fear, anger, etc. And none of that helps then create that healing milieu inside that's needed for you to recover from whatever mental or physical imbalance you're going through. Living, as Oprah and Maya Angelou like to say, when you know better, you do better. So when you understand more about life, it's easier to live optimally. It just makes sense. And helping, part of understanding the big picture of life is remembering you're on earth to lovingly serve and love others. Love got in there twice. And that's the first step to do it. And that's why Jesus, another great teacher, said, love your neighbor as yourself. Both are important. All right, suggested action steps for key number 8. These 4 articles, I list heaven and hell, what are they really? Because this is one that really trips up people. And I don't have enough time in this presentation to get into it, but I will just say there's no fiery eternal hell. My God, what kind of creator would even think about such a thing, let alone have it? Now, are there temporary, self-induced hells? Yes, definitely. So read the article, because some people throw out the baby with the bathwater. They totally reject any idea of an afterlife or God because they understandably reject the idea of a fiery eternal hell. So really important one to understand. And there's an article on multilocation, what's afterlife like. Also, I recommend at least the first two books by Michael Newton I just mentioned, Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls. I've read each one of them 5 times now, and I learn more each time. One of the best clinical indications about what it's like before we come to Earth and after we leave Earth. But here's a big key I want to leave with you about all this. The quality of your life, like people say, what's the afterlife like? And I just kind of have to smile. It's like, it's not one size fits all. It's about as varied as life on Earth. But basically, the quality of your life, whether you're on Earth or the next phase of life, is shaped by your level of consciousness, your degree of love, your level of understanding about the nature of reality. So that's why it's so important to spend some time on this. And one of the most beautiful stories I've ever heard from the book, How Can I Help by Ram Dass, is this. A drunken samurai warrior came upon a little monk and bellowed, "Monk, teach me about heaven and hell." And the monk didn't even glance up and said, "Teach you about heaven and hell? How could I do that? You're a disgrace to the samurai caste. Look at you. You're drunk. Your clothes are dirty. You stink. Your sword is rusted." And the samurai, used to blind obedience, pulled his sword, raised it above his head, ready to kill the little monk. And the monk said, "That is hell." And the samurai, overtaken by the love, the caring, the courage that this monk had to remind him what hell was like, what hell felt like, burst into tears and said, "Thank you so much." And the monk said, "And that is heaven." So it's, I'll just rest with that, but make sure you read all this other, please. Key number 9, optimally care for yourself. This is such an important one. Why? Because it's very difficult to remember who you are, why you're here, and to fulfill your missions when you're depressed, anxious, fatigued, or having other symptoms. I practiced, as Allison said, I worked with people for 53 years in hospitals, mental health centers, pastoral counseling centers, holistic health clinics. So I know how most people are, really. I mean, you meet them on the street, "How you doing?" "Great." "How you doing?" "Great." They're both lying, because when they come to me and other physicians who are colleagues, they've got a list of 15, 20 symptoms, mental and physical symptoms, and it doesn't have to be that way. And drugs and surgery are needed for crises, emergency conditions, but oftentimes those can make more standard problems worse. And so it's very important to learn about this. You understand that healthcare system in the U.S. is a $4 trillion a year industry. That's hospitals, pharmaceutical companies, and medical device manufacturers. That is so much money. It might be up to 5 trillion now. And so that buys a lot of influence. It's a court fact that 2/3 of teachers in medical schools have direct or indirect ties to pharmaceutical companies. So that's why it's so important to take a better way to use natural care whenever possible. Yes, drugs and surgery are needed for emergencies and crises, but for the rest of the long list of symptoms, consider natural care And even taking better care of yourself, it's so powerful because, and this is one of the reasons I went in chiropractic instead of medicine, your body, you consist of the same energy, healing power, intelligence as creator, what created the cosmos. And so your body is a miraculously self-aware and self-healing organism if you give it what it needs. You get rid of the bad things these days, too many chemicals, heavy metals, and you give it what it needs, things like key nutrients so your body can heal itself. So it's a big, big topic, but I'm going to talk about some resources so you can educate yourself and enjoy a heaven on earth. I mean, look at me, I'm 72. I go all day, every day, same activity level as when I was 40. And that's how it can be um, versus how so many people are. So when people have significant physical and mental imbalances, it keeps them from fulfilling their highest missions. And then they feel frustrated. They don't even know, perhaps, why they're frustrated. They feel depressed, existential angst. So that's why we talk about this. Holistically fine-tuning yourself enables you to optimally heal, live, and help others. All right, so some benefits. Key number 9, optimal self-care and natural health care, and I'll talk more about that in a moment, can mobilize your inherent self-restorative powers. We just talked about that. There's a saying among natural health care providers, there are no uncurable cases. There are no incurable diseases. There are just incurable cases. So truly, any disease you tell me about, I will tell you about cases that we've helped and other docs I know have helped with natural health care, helping the body heal itself. For a living, you'll have much more time and energy to meet life's demands and have time and energy left over to enjoy this wonderful earth experience and do what you came here to do and help others. So suggested action steps. You can get quiet within and inventory your current health status. First of all, I recommend you have a team, but you also can do this on yourself. All right, what are 3 things I can do, 3 improvements? And after those have been addressed, select 3 more. In other words, you can't do everything overnight. So this is an incremental, gradual process. But every month, then you have more energy, more clarity, less problems, need fewer drugs, and so on. So it's a very self-sustaining process. The natural healthcare team I recommend includes personalized nutritional healing, and I will give a resource for this in a moment, acupuncture, chiropractic, deep tissue massage, and integrative medicine. That is a medical doctor, whether MD or DO, who understands the value of both natural health care and invasive drug surgery health care and can help triage and know when a person needs which instead of automatically slapping somebody on drugs when that can make things worse and definitely doesn't get to the cause of the problem. Read my book, Radiant Wellness, a holistic guide for having an optimal earthly experience. Free ebook and audiobook at Shop. So I'll share a true case. I mean, so many, but this one came to mind. This is a woman, we'll call her Sandy, came to me, huge list, 30, 40 symptoms. Her family brought her in actually because she had tried to pass by suicide several times and wasn't successful. I mean, she was falling down. She was having seizures, depressed, anxious, couldn't sleep. I mean, you name it, she had it. It was horrible. And in her intake report, she listed all that and she said, I want to die. I'm suffering so much. Wow, tough case, right? And I'm sitting over there on the Red Rock, even I thought, wow, our clinic can help a lot because we had all these things available. But even this is still a tough one. So put her on a program. and she and her family helped. At a 3-month evaluation, she was 80% better already. She had a fraction of the symptoms she had, and she wrote, "I want to live now." So that's how it can be, and I hope you take care of yourself with that. So here's the articles, a lot of them, but that's because there are lots of facets to this job of getting optimally well, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. But this one, if I could only do one thing, if you take away all my tools that I learned over the years, the one I would want to keep would be nutrition-based healing. So this is discussed in article number 32. It's just miraculous. Again, you get rid of the bad things like overgrowth of microorganisms, chemicals, heavy metals, and you give the body just what it needs to heal itself. It's so fun to sit back and watch this. And I'm talking about Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, other neuromuscular disorders, ADD, autism, Crohn's, diabetes. I mean, just you name it, and the body can heal it unless you're too far gone, unless you're what we call medical wreckage. In other words, if people are on 15 drugs and they've had 5 surgeries and they're now in a wheelchair, probably not going to come back. But if you can catch these things early, mild to moderate cases, almost always response. So it's important to know about this. And again, we'll list all these articles for you. And finally, to wrap up, we hope you love yourself enough to take some time, money, and energy to know your true nature and live accordingly. Key number 7, learn more about the big picture of life. Number 8, and optimally care for yourself. Bernie Siegel, MD, pioneer in cancer research and treating cancer in other ways besides drugs and surgery, said that in his opinion, 90% of the maladies that people suffer with are because they don't love themselves enough and they don't take the time, energy, and money to care for themselves. So anyway, that is my presentation. And now we're at the point of the program where you can ask your biggest questions, share your toughest challenges, and I'll put together holistic resources for you. And for the others, this will help you see how I do that. So you can do this for yourself and your loved ones. As I mentioned in the intro, part of what we do with this program is to help you learn how to use all the many resources. So I'm going to review those. I want to screen share briefly. And so here we are on the soulproof.com website. And first of all, articles, 133 now, I think. Again, all free. Some of them are in French. And just any topic you can think of, there's one or more articles on it. Also, shop, I mentioned. So here are the 8 books. And as you see, the printed, of course, we have to charge for and have to mail them. But the ebook and the audiobook version are all free. Here's the 10 audio programs, what I mentioned earlier. Ask Your Soul, Angels in the Light. And then also, here's Identify Your Soul's Missions. And so these are all free. Also, the Soul Proof documentary film. This is a 93-minute film. So now you know where those are. Radio shows. I mean, how would you like to hear what Wayne Dyer, Brian Weiss, Michael Newton, Raymond Moody? I asked them all the same questions. What do you answer to people when they ask, is there afterlife? Is there a God? What do you say to people whose children passed, etc.? So these are all wonderful interviews I did with different people. Carolyn Mace, Nita Morjani, Bill Guggenheim, founder of After Death Communication Research, And then also for the Greater Reality program, I mentioned earlier that if you take 10 seconds to sign up for, where are we? Yeah, right here. So how to receive automated updates, class recordings, suggested action steps. Just use this and click on it, and you'll get a form like this: your first name and your email, and that's all you have to do. So again, that's under the top tab, Greater Reality Program, and then the next one, recordings. My tech guy is slow in getting class number 3, but here's class number 1 and 2 on. And so those are some resources I wanted to share with you and make sure you know where they are. Given that, who would like to share a question? But first, Chris, I heard you say your son spoke with you when he passed.
Yes. My son did take his life in January. And sorry. I arrived at Walmart to the police called me and asked me to come. Sorry, I'm trying to okay. And they told me he was gone. They said they did everything they could. There's nothing else they could do. And then I heard him speaking to me, and he said, Mom, I'm so sorry. It was an accident. I didn't mean to do it. I don't know what I was thinking. He said, and this is hard for me to say, but he said, I didn't think you loved me,
Oh, fuck.
but I was wrong, Mom. I
Yeah.
can see all your love. I can see all your love now, and I see all the truth. And there's another part of the message, but I won't share that right now. It's more
Okay.
private, but he said, this is why I'm a little confused. He said, I tried so hard to come back. I tried so hard to come back, but I couldn't. But I don't want to go. I want to come back and be with you in all your love. He said, I don't want to go. He said, but I have to, and I'm sorry. And he said, I have to go now and I'm never coming back, not even in your dreams. And then that was it. There was nothing else, no more speaking. And then the police took me behind Walmart, and an hour later, I asked them if I could see his body. And they said the coroner said yes, and they were gonna bring him around back. They brought him around back. I live in Tucson, Arizona. It hadn't rained all winter. It wasn't raining when I arrived there. And when I walked outside, it was just finishing up raining, I guess, or whatever. And there was a humongous rainbow right in front of my son's body. And
Nice.
even the police officer said, oh my God, that's from your son.
Nice.
Mm.
Well, I guess he was wrong. They wouldn't be sending you any signs. So are you part of Helping Parents Heal yet, Crystal?
Mhm.
Okay, great. And for you and for everyone else involved, know that you can email me, mark@soulproof.com. I can answer you literally in a few minutes because I have templates. I mean, any question you ask, I've heard 100,000 times. So I'll just say, read these articles, use this audio program. So feel free to reach out to me. So, Krista, are you saying you heard him telepathically in your mind?
Telepathically. And I mean, in the end, when he said he wanted to come back and be with me and all my love, he was crying. He was crying and saying, I want to come back and be with you.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, I've heard a lot of the near death people say they didn't want to come back. They wanted to stay over there. So I just wonder, well, is it because he chose to take his life and he felt that it was a mistake that he wanted to come back, or
Yeah, we know from multiple mediums independently that at least some people, especially kids, will regret it after they choose suicide. You know, there's different reasons. They're in psychological pain. Their brain is affected by drugs or alcohol, so they're making poor decisions. I mean, you know, some kids will do it after the breakup of their first love, but then when they do pass and see the big picture of life and realize, oh my God, you know, whatever is going on, that was inconsequential in comparison to the love that's available. If I just would have given it a little more time, they realize how much they hurt people. Uh, so that could be why he said, you know, I wish I changed my mind, but you know, physically, it just wasn't possible. So make sure you read, if you haven't already, article number 4, I believe, when a loved one passes on by suicide. And then let me look these up so I have the exact right ones for you. So again, we're at soulproof.com/articles.
Yeah, I've been listening to you, and thank you for all your free.
Okay. Okay, yeah, number 4, when a loved one passed on by suicide. And so that will help. We also have a group in HPH for parents whose kids passed by suicide. It's so many. I interviewed 130, you know, of the group leaders and caring listeners for that book, Shining Light Parents Speak. Have you read that yet?
No, not yet.
Okay. Yeah, that's under shop.
Okay.
And Elizabeth Boyson and I calculated about 1/3 of their kids passed by suicide and or drug overdose. And so it's very, very common. There are good reasons for it. I can't get into it, the group, but it's all described in those articles. And be sure to reach out. You know, January is pretty recent, and we have the resources here to help you through this and to find the silver linings. His name again?
His name was Julian.
Okay. Well,
Julian.
I'm sure he's wanting to come up with the blessings out of this thing. So let's identify those and share them with others and get a happy ending this. What do you say?
Sure.
All right. God bless. Kelly, I believe you had your hand up next, dear.
Yes, hi. I just want to tell Crystal my heart is with her. I'm a bereaved parent. My son was 18 when he died by suicide. But you can live through it because I did, and it's been a long time. So I want you to have that message when you leave tonight. The other thing is, Mark, I was talking with Holly, and we just had a one-on-one discussion, and she asked me if I could or would consider joining up with helping parents heal. And so I was wondering whom I might contact to maybe try to become a helper.
Yeah, just email me, Mark, with a K at soulproof.com, and then I'll direct you, depending on how you feel called to help, I'll direct you to the right people.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Maria, you're up next.
Hey, Mark, how are you?
Hello again.
Good. So I have a question for you. As you may recall, my son Andrew passed away in March, so it's also recent. And while I go through my ups and downs and bad days, good days, one of the things that I've come out of it is coming out of this grief process is that, I want to collaborate with my son. I want to work together as a team. And that for me, and everybody has their own journey, but that for me is helpful. And I want to know by going on this mission of teamwork, of collaborating, of doing things that I'm compelled to do and that I know that he's helping me. Is that helping both myself evolve and grow? And is that impacting him on the other side?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
And that's partly, you know, bodily death doesn't bring on instant total enlightenment. They're still growing, they're still learning. So yes, what that's part of the reason he's motivated to take part, to help people on earth, but help those in the spirit world. I had a wonderful example of that a couple of years ago. I was working with a guy named Don, and he was very close with his cousin who passed by suicide after being in Vietnam, drug overdose. And so I wrote an article about suicide, not the unforgivable sin, and Don read it. Oh, I should say that Don and his cousin had a very close relationship. Don could hear him telepathically. They would continue to have a communication, even though his cousin was in the next phase of life. And right after the article came out, his cousin said, "Don, please thank Mark for me. His article helped a number of us here in the afterlife because we were still kicking ourselves, at having chosen that and the people we hurt. And it really helped us." And I was like, really? I was still learning how all this works. But yeah, definitely.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. So I thought you were going to ask the best way that you and Andrew can join forces, communicate to identify what are the silver linings and how to share them. Are you have a way to do that you're comfortable with?
No, why don't you expand on that?
Well, the way I'd recommend is using my afterlife contact technique. So that's described in article number 9.
Okay.
And then again, the audio program's called Afterlife Contact. Deep relaxation, guided imagery, where you quiet the brain and then the rest of your senses, your 99.9%, gets in touch with him. And many parents have described prolonged conversations, and I leave a lot of silence in it. You could say, "Okay, Andrew, what's up?" So I mean, really, it's just a continuing relationship, although it's, different. You can't see him on Earth like you used to. And say, "Okay, what's your understanding of what good is supposed to come with this? This is what my thoughts are." And you just work together. And after a while, you can check in pretty quickly with him. And, maybe it's like any other team project you'd have on Earth.
Right.
Meet a couple times a week, talk about it for a half hour, and then see what comes out of all that.
It's that's going to be really helpful. It's funny because one of the messages that I got from Andrew from one of your guided meditations, and I'm very visual, so I go in there quickly, is that he said, I looked at him, he looked at me, and he says, "You should see what I'm doing now, Mom."
Yeah.
So with a smile on his face, meaning, you know, you don't even know. I can't even explain to you what I'm doing now. Like it's beyond your comprehension almost.
I'm sure it is. And that's a really important point. Those of us on Earth, it's hard to understand a lot of things.
Mhm.
But one important point to keep in mind is that our time on Earth is not the end of things. It's just the beginning. So the difficulties, the suffering we go through on Earth may be preparatory for what we're doing in the next life. Dr. Newton mentioned working with a person um, while on Earth. Nothing worked out. She had a real strong sense there's something she's supposed to do, but everything she tried seemed to fail. And so at the end of this life, she thought, well, I failed. Nothing happened. But then when she passed on, she saw, oh, all of that training prepared me, and her job was to counsel the souls of people who had been murdered.
Wow.
And she had developed a strength of spirit through her perseverance that prepared her to do that exquisitely. So yeah, it's life is set up so grand, and that's why we need to expand our view a bit. Well, always good to talk with you. I'm so impressed. I know Andrew's so proud of you. Yeah, Crystal, I wanted to share one other thing. In fact, this mom was on with us the last meeting we had on a Sunday. Her name is Franny, and I included her story in my article number. I've got too many windows up. 126. It's called "Can the Soul Exit the Body Before Severe Suffering and Death?" Number 126. But in a nutshell, Franny's daughter was brutally murdered. I mean, that's all I'll share about it. At the time it happened, Franny thought of her and like, I got to get hold of her, and called her, but she couldn't answer them. Then she got the call a little bit later from the police, went down to the site, that she's talking to the detective, and all of a sudden her daughter, who is Marijka, I think you pronounce it, appeared from the chest up to her, appeared like we're seeing each other on this video, and spoke in a voice that Franny heard, like she's hearing, like you would hear my voice right now. And she said, "Mom, don't worry about me. It only hurt for a minute. I'm so happy now." And I was like, oh my God, that is such an important message for all of us. You're brutally murdered. It only hurt for a minute. And so that's part of what we need to remember. Death is not as horrible as we think. Sure, we wish it hadn't happened, but learning stories like that, and especially where she objectively, outwardly heard and saw her daughter, and they've had continued communication since, can relieve a lot of fear and worry for many of us. All right, let's see, Vanessa, you're up.
Good night. First, thank you for all the resources free, because I'm not working as I used to before my girl passed away on May. And I am doing the exercises on the after Article 9 to contact my girl. My question is this, Mark: how do I know that is she or is my imagination?
Yep, that's a great question. And and your daughter's name?
Vanessa also.
Okay, beautiful. And first of all, it's very common to feel like it's your imagination or you're making it up. I was certified by Dr. Brian Weiss to do past life regressions, and also by Dr. Raymond Moody to do mirror gazing, and both of them stressed, and these are, highly respected physicians, that it's very, very common, especially in the beginning, to feel like I'm making this up, it's my imagination, and that's still your brain going on. So it's a matter of practice, because the more you do it, the more you get used to it. In other words, your brain thinks it understands everything, but it perceives much less than 1% of reality. And I'm sure you're aware that your brain is like this never-ending analysis machine. That dress is red. That's brown wood, and so it thinks that it knows everything, but it doesn't very much. So when you're deeply relaxed and working on contacting your dear one, the brain won't shut up. And it's still like, well, how do you know this is real? You're not making it up. And basically you say, would you just shut up? Just go there and sit in the corner for a minute and let me do this technique. But we know from experiences that at least some of these contacts are real. Some people get information they didn't know beforehand and turns out to be real. And go ahead and speak up, Vanessa, so I can see your picture while we're talking, please. They get information, they get signs that are impressive. They have dreams that are different from just regular dreams. In other words, you dream that you're visiting with her, and when you wake up, you feel more peaceful. You feel as though really there was a contact, saying that the proof is in the pudding. So I can assure you that valid afterlife contacts are very, very real. And so just start with that, and then use the technique. Make sure you follow the recommendations for having a successful technique. And then if you run into anything, shoot me an email, mark@soulproof.com.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Take care, dear one.
Thank you.
All right. We have some repeat questions. Let's see. No, actually, I think we're out of questions and we're out of time. Anyone else want to ask anything before we pass? Yes, Carol. You're muted, dear one.
Okay,
There we go.
there we go. Hi, guys. We were just talking, and I'm sorry for the losses for people, but I just had found one of the books which was on suicide, and it's done by Pamela Ray Heath and John Klimo, and it's recommended right at the beginning by Jeffrey Mishlove.
I appreciate it. All right, everyone. Well, great evening. God bless. Let it shine. Don't suffer in silence. Let us know what you need. Reach out and we'll make sure you have it. And thank you for sharing this with others. And yes, hearts to you as well. Take care.